Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Poorly Drawn Arsenal animated podcast. I'm Jacob. I'm Poorly Drawn Arsenal, and with me, as always, is Hunter. Say hi, Hunter.
Hi, Hunter.
Fantastic. Hunter, we're recording this right after the Newcastle match that just ended. So, I guess, h- how are you feeling about about that?
Not great.
Yeah, I think that's not to validate your emotions, but that feels like an appropriate response.
I already had COVID,
Yeah,
and
sorry,
then I had to watch this.
man. It made you feel no better.
No, believe it
No,
or not, it didn't.
that's surprising to me. I would think that would make you feel better. Uh, for those that listen regularly, which is probably at least 10 of you, um, we don't like talking about referee decisions or VAR on this podcast. And I unfortunately think it is impossible to talk about this game without talking about some of the decisions that were made on the pitch. I don't know why I felt like I had to. I think that disclaimer was probably more for me than it was for the listener.
Uh-huh.
But we're going to talk about referee decisions and VAR. I just think it's impossible not to talk about it. Um, so going into we always start with a little vibe check beforehand. Hunter, you have COVID. Did that influence how you were feeling going into the match?
Yeah. Ooh, I wonder if they caught that
Yeah,
horrible
probably.
throat clearing.
If I was any good
Uh,
at this, I would get rid of that.
yeah.
But hey, live la vida loca.
Oh, that's what that means.
I don't know. Is that live crazy?
I.
Live the vida loca means, yeah, living the crazy life.
Okay.
All right. Well, now we know.
And yeah, that's what it means. No editing out throat clearing. Ricky
Probably.
Martin has never edited out a throat clearing in his life.
He's all raw, baby.
That's him, right?
Yeah, it was Ricky Martin.
Livin' La Vida Loca, She Bangs. These are Ricky Martin songs.
Yeah, right? Wasn't it? Yeah, Ricky Martin. Okay. Anyway, I think we're just doing everything to avoid talking about what just happened.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is really normal Arsenal conversation.
Anyway, how did you feel beforehand?
Oh, I didn't really feel anything beforehand. I've stopped getting nervous before games. I don't look at the lineups really with any sort of emotion to it. I'm just like, these are the guys that are playing today.
I thought you turned on the TV when kickoff started and you were like, oh, so that's the lineup.
Oh, a game.
How surprising. Which would be on point for this podcast. Okay, so you had no emotions going into it.
I knew people were hurt, right? And I know that Newcastle away isn't like a great game. I need to stop clearing my throat. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's not an easy match to do. And
how about you?
How did I feel before the game? I still don't know if I know what time zone I'm in. So I think because I came back from London on Wednesday night, well, kind of Thursday early morning. So I don't really know what time zone I'm in right now. So discombobulated, and not to have any spoilers, but I still feel discombobulated.
Okay, great. So neither of us are really in an excellent mental headspace.
Right. Before or after the match. Well, I don't want to speak for you, but that's where. Are you still feeling the same?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Cool. So, well, let's talk about it. Really, kind of the big first thing that I can think of that happened was the Havertz slide tackle.
That
Uh,
was like 35 minutes into the half.
can you name something that happened before that?
No, I mean that's part of it. Is this
Right.
game was just like all physical contests in the midfield. I do think like they were standing up well to it. Like in the past, Arsenal have gotten just like completely physically bullied out of games.
Yeah, and I think that's partly why Havertz started in the midfield is to have some physicality in
Sure,
there because
and
the other
Declan
option would have been
Rice,
Vieira or something like that.
it would have been Vieira or El Neti,
Yeah. So I
right?
think the that's why Havertz started, and I honestly remember nothing about the match until that slide tackle.
Well, there were like no chances
Yeah.
really, which is a problem, right?
It's not ideal
Like,
when you're trying to score, which could arguably be the whole point of the game.
yeah, we're not creating like a lot of chances this year.
No, but we're also not giving up a lot of
Yeah,
chances, which is
exactly.
which is good.
It's the trade-off,
It's
right?
it's
You're
half of what you need. We are doing something, and that's not letting other people score to the detriment of not letting us score.
um how did you feel about that Kai Havertz yellow card?
uh, I thought it was a yellow. I didn't think it was anything more than that. I
Yep,
think he got a bit lucky to not make more contact on the player.
probably.
Um, but I also think that kind of kicked off everything that happened. I think it made the match more physical, or maybe highlighted some of the things that happened.
I think it was more highlighted. Like this match was always going to be really physical.
Yeah.
That's just how Newcastle play. I think they have a license to be physical. Like,
Yes.
I feel like there are teams that referees decide they can be more physical than other teams
Yeah,
because that's how they play.
I would definitely put Newcastle in that position.
And yeah, Newcastle is one of those teams who are, that's just, they're allowed to do it because that's how they play.
Yeah.
Right. And
Now,
they're a team from a certain place that has you know, a cultural heritage of playing a certain way.
yes, the
Uh,
the old-fashioned football way.
right.
Yeah. I,
And
I will. So, switching gears ever so slightly, but still on the same topic, getting a yellow card is not ideal for a
sure.
player. But if you were to get a yellow card and that resulted in the other team getting 4 yellow cards,
Yes, this is what I was going to get around to.
that would
Is
be
I think this,
that is a successful yellow card.
yeah, great value for money on that one.
Yeah, it's
Really,
a high
it's
return. It's a
a 4
three.
for 1 deal.
Yeah, yeah, 4 for 1 deal. You don't get those nowadays. There's the economy is struggling. You do not get 4 for 1 deals nowadays. I can't think of any that I would have gotten.
Like, look, when I'm at the store and I see a 4 for, like you get a great deal on something. I saw like 4 for 1 on a brand of chips that I like just okay.
But
Might just
yeah,
do it.
just okay. But if you get 4 of them for the price of 1 of them, those are good chips.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Yeah,
I'm swimming in chips.
yeah. So, it was a little reckless. It was a little questionable, but it was extremely funny to see Newcastle just immediately get yellow card, yellow card, yellow card, yellow card.
Well, they're such babies.
Huge
That's the
babies.
other thing. They have risen right up my rank of enemy teams.
I would say there's 2 players that specifically on Newcastle that have risen up those ranks. Uh, and
3
speak
for me.
3 for you. I think we probably have the same 2.
Is it Anthony
Bruno.
Gordon and Bruno?
Yeah, yeah, those are 2.
Yeah.
Who's your third?
Joel Linton.
Uh,
And you know what? I don't really care for Kieran Trippier either.
Yeah, I can't tell if that's because he plays for Newcastle or because he played for Spurs.
Why not both?
Yeah, why not both? Well, speaking of Bruno, who might be passing, who I think I've decided I don't like any Brunos. I can't name a Bruno that I do like.
What about Bruce Willis
I wouldn't
when
call
he's
him a
honking on
Bruno.
Bobo? What?
He's not a Bruno.
Uh, yeah,
He's
he is.
a Bruce.
Yeah, but when he's a musician and when he's honking on Bobo, that's Bruno, baby.
No. No, he's not. I do not accept
Google
that.
Bruno honking on Bobo.
I I am afraid of the search results of this. Bruno honking
Honking
honking on
on
Bono?
Bobo.
Bobo.
Okay, well, that's an Aerosmith song. But Bruno was doing it.
I Okay, well, I still stand by there are no Brunos that I like.
Okay, well, okay. I think I just got too excited to say honking on Bobo.
I mean, it's a
Why
fun
don't you
phrase
Google
to say, but
Bruno Bruce Willis?
Bruno Bruce Willis. The return of I don't see any results here.
Uh,
Oh, the
it's
return of Bruno.
it's his debut studio album.
Okay, I'm still
It's
going to
Bruno, and he's
argue.
back,
I'm going to argue
and he
that
is honking on Bobo.
this is the first time Booker T. Jones is on this album
Yeah.
and the Temptations. That is absurd. I'm still going to put that in the camp of I
Oh, you
don't.
don't like it when he's Bruno.
Call me crazy, but I prefer the Willis over the Bruno. So not many Brunos I like. But then I think the next major thing that happened after all those cards was
It was the Bruno thing.
yeah, it was the Bruno elbow.
Well, it's not an elbow.
Okay, sorry,
It's a forearm.
forearm, and
And that's allowed.
apparently that's why this is not a red card. I, it's a card.
No, you're allowed. You're allowed to give a guy a little forearm in the head. Just for fun.
But okay,
It's definitely a red. Of course
okay,
it's a
yeah,
red.
yeah. But if we're playing into like that's allowed, I feel like we're missing the right players to do to do that. I don't think we have a good forearmer on our team.
On our team?
I was sitting there trying to think who would be good forearmer.
I mean, probably Declan Rice. But you don't want to risk it.
Yeah,
But Bruno is like their Declan Rice, right? All action midfielder.
yeah.
I just don't think Declan Rice would want to do that. What if we got a guy?
Like the
All right,
ideal
let me change this.
forearmer would be like JoJo Shelby.
John Joe Shelby?
John Joe Shelby, yeah. I feel
What
like
if we just get like a professional wrestler or a martial artist that we can run out there?
yeah, don't worry about kicking the ball.
What if we get like
You're
Kenny
there.
Omega and he just gets to come out there
And
do
just
some
throw some
forearms?
forearms. If he was throw, but we have to make sure that it's just forearms. Because if it gets too close to the elbow, that's a red card.
Do you think, given that you can forearm people,
Yeah.
do you think you can shin people in the head? You can't kick them and you can't knee them. But what about just a nice raised shin across someone's head?
I think the only way you'd be able to get away with that is because like you can't make a kicking motion, right? It just has to be the shin. So arguably, you can't move your leg at all because it could be perceived as a kicking motion. So I think the only way you could get away with that, for an example, is if Declan Rice and Kai Havertz picked up Martin Odegaard and just willed his shin into somebody else's face. And at that point, I think you're neglecting some defensive responsibilities, and it might just be too much of a liability.
Okay. I mean, it's not that. I think you're picturing this on a standing guy.
You're thinking a laying down guy?
Maybe a guy has done a slide tackle, right?
Okay.
And they're still on the ground, and you just kind of run by and leave your shin up. across their face. Is that allowed?
I mean, I've always said the shin is the forearm of the
Of the
leg.
leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What about a karate chop?
as long as it's with the forearm, I think that's fine.
If we get Austin Powers out there,
And he's just throwing
you get him behind
forearms.
guys and he's doing karate chops.
As long as the forearm is hitting the body, again, I
Okay,
think
so you think
it's
it's the
clear.
hand. If they do a karate chop with the hand, it's not allowed.
Well, we saw that. Bruno got a yellow later on in the match for strictly hand movement.
Okay. Yeah, you're
So it
right.
seems to be the no zone is the hand, elbow up, forearm fine.
Okay, what if you have a guy with a great big belly and he's doing belly thrusts on people?
Like Kung Fu Panda?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. All right. So like shaboinking the other players?
Yeah, he's
I
doing a great big shaboink.
Okay, I think that would make a fantastic defensive midfielder.
Okay.
I stand by that. I think that would be an ideal defensive midfielder.
You know, not enough teams have considered trying deploying players with great big bellies.
I I think we're terribly missing out on something. That and
It's not a
forearming.
body shape you see in the sport.
No.
That's a body shape you'll see in baseball.
The only one I could think of is, do you remember that I don't even remember the team that we were playing, but it was some lower league match, and I think it was an FA Cup match,
Mm-hmm.
and their keeper ate a pie on the sideline.
Don't remember this at all.
You don't? It's like burned in my head.
I'll have to look this
I
up.
don't even know what I would search for this. Keeper
Keeper eats pie on sideline.
eats pie. Arsenal. Yeah, Shaw against Sutton. Wayne Shaw. He ate a pie on the sideline.
Wow.
Oh, well, turns out he ate a pie on the sideline because there was a betting company that was offering 8-1 odds about him eating a pie on on TV. I
And it,
forgot
well,
that
you
piece
know
of it.
what? It was a pasty too.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, well. So does the bet
It's
count then?
described as a pie in reports.
So then the bet theoretically doesn't count.
Wow. Go
Yeah,
through all that work
all that work for nothing.
and it's a pasty. It's not even a pie. I'm probably saying that wrong too. Oh well.
Well, let's move on to the next big thing that happens, which I think is the goal.
It's probably the goal, yeah. And there, honestly, not enough happened to like really mark the game by things that happened.
Yeah. So now we have to talk the goal. There are three, maybe, well, yeah, three possible things that could have happened
Sure.
that could have made the call reverse decisions. I think two of them potentially hold some ground, and I think one of them doesn't. I
Okay.
think the ball going out, I think there's a fair argument there that there's not a good enough camera angle to know for certain that the ball is out of bounds. So I think that one's fair to not call that one.
Isn't there like line technology for that kind of stuff? Or is it all on the camera
I think it's all on the camera. I know that there's goal line technology, but it seems to just be
inside the
in the
goal?
side the goal. And this is where I kind of find it crazy that they just don't have cameras from like the goal out towards the lines.
Why not? Okay, so is that the goal line technology? That's a camera pointing straight down
I think
inside
it's
the
a
goal.
series of cameras
Series of
because
cameras.
it's automatic. I think it's a series of cameras inside the goal that make that instantaneous.
Thought maybe there was a chip in the ball as well.
I think there's a chip in the ball. But I think it's weird that there's not at least a camera going down the line to definitively say that ball is in bounds or out of bounds.
Yeah, you'd think they
At
could
this
do
level,
that.
it feels like that's something that should happen.
Yeah, but you know, at the same time, the way I feel about the ball going out of bounds thing is that Arsenal probably should have played to the whistle on that. and
Yeah,
they just didn't.
I think we'll get to the other two things, but I think this goal is as much a result of Arsenal being really sloppy at the back. And they,
Right.
not to like victim shame, but they put themselves in this position of where a goal could easily happen.
Yeah, and then I think the push should be a foul. The push on Gabriel
I
should
think
be a
that is a
foul.
definitive foul. And that is the one I'm most surprised by that wasn't called back.
That's my other thing. I feel though is that that was never going to be given a foul in this game.
Oh, with
Um,
how crazy everything was? Yeah.
like
Yeah, that's fair.
even on camera, like if Bruno giving a forearm straight to
Right.
Jorginho's
And
face
there was
isn't
a
a foul,
VAR review for that. And it wasn't
then
called.
right, then this a shove,
Yeah.
like full extension shove in the back.
Gabriel would had to have been decapitated for, for this not to be a goal.
Like, or his hands would have had to go through his back
Right.
like knives.
Like grab the heart and bring it back. Was it Joe Linton?
He
He would have
might
to
have even had to like,
bring it back to him.
and maybe had to take a little bite, like he was an apple.
At the most a lick. Or at the least a lick. Right.
That's where the VAR is.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a
Checking
VAR.
possible lick.
Is there a connection between the heart and the tongue? And then it's like, no connection. Goal stands. They have like
You see the
there's a
tongue
chip.
just
There's a
like
chip in every
just like
player's tongue,
it's just like millimeters away from the heart,
millimeters away, and
but it's
they
like
do the zooming
they
in.
zoom hard in. Whole crowd goes crazy.
Yeah, no
Arteta
way, no way.
Arteta throwing up his hands on the sideline. Like, oh.
all the Newcastle fans are just waving their tongues in celebration.
Whole crowd going, oh.
Yeah, so that's what would have had to have happened in order for that to be called. The offsides. Where do you stand on the offside call?
I don't know, man.
And when the
At that
replay,
point, I had given up.
yeah, I mean,
I was just like,
when they were going
why are
through,
they even checking this? I mean,
yeah,
I guess I'm glad they're pretending to check it.
I almost feel like it was a pity check
A little
in the
bit,
sense
yeah.
that like they didn't really do a great job on checking the forearm, so they were like, we're going to be very thorough about. Look how thorough we're being about this.
But like they're
We're
also
opening up
clearly
the
not giving the
dictionary to figure
foul.
out what offsides is. What were you saying?
But they like also didn't give the foul, so like they're not really.
Yeah. I think it was a pretty obvious foul, but I think your point about in this match it not being called makes sense. And the offsides, I wasn't sold on until there was a replay, maybe like 10, 20 minutes later, where it very clearly went off of Joe Linton's leg. And you could see that Gordon was offsides at the same time. But again, when the more that they're ticking through things that they're checking, the more I'm like, this is going to get called a goal.
Yeah.
So by then I had just given up hope on that. And then everything after that, I'll be honest, I didn't really pay attention after that. I know that there was like 30 more minutes of play, but
Well, there were
I was
just
just
not.
disheartened at that point.
There weren't really any like clear chances after that. You know, like
Yeah, for either team, really.
had the ball, but there was just nothing there. It was
Yeah.
raining. Sorry,
Yeah,
the guys don't like being wet.
Your rain theory holds up. My blonde hair dye going into players' brains theory has taken a little bit of a hit. Ben White did dye his hair, but maybe it's just a dye thing.
Well, or
Because
right,
he did give up a goal in the Carabao Cup, which all I can say is I never care about it anyway. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, thank you. And then he dyed his hair again. So maybe it's more of like if you dye your hair, you're not good. Your team's not going to play well for like a couple weeks after. But my theory isn't really holding much weight. Yours, as far as whenever it rains, we play poorly, is kind of holding a little bit of weight,
Just a little.
just a tiny bit.
They don't like being wet.
They don't. Who does? Unfortunately, it's rainy season over in the UK.
Yeah. Bad
So
place to not like being wet.
very bad place to not like being wet. Our team is like a little herd of cats.
Yeah. They're a
They
bunch
don't
of
like
fancy kids.
just a bunch of fancy kittens, fluffy fancy kittens. Uh, okay, well, I feel sufficiently talked out about that match. I don't really think there's anything else to really talk about after that. I don't like talking about referees, and I don't think that we did enough to win the game.
No,
But
I
I
agree.
also would argue that we haven't done enough, that we didn't do enough to lose the game either.
Probably not, but that's football for you, my friend.
Preach.
Sometimes you don't get what you deserve.
I thought you were going to go with like full on Rolling Stones.
No,
You can try sometimes, but
I'm more of a Bruno guy.
and with that, this has been the Poorly Drawn Arsenal Animated Podcast. I'm Jacob, and with me, as always, is
Hunter.
the Walrus. If you liked this, if this tickles your pickle, ugh, if okay, if you didn't turn it off immediately after that, if you could do us a favor of just liking this or giving us a good rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Pocket Casts or Stitcher. I don't know if that's
No,
a
that's
thing.
it's dead.
Oh, that's dead. Well, you can try, but you can't. That would be fantastic. Uh, we'll be back next week. I just looked up. Arsenal does play next week against Burnley. All right. Well, goodbye.
Bye.